PK Kemsley is reportedly taking Dorit Kemsley to court in an explosive $8 million battle. And the timing couldn't be worse. With their multi-million-dollar mansion facing foreclosure trouble and hundreds of thousands in alleged unpaid debt, Dorit's glamorous Beverly Hills life is suddenly under serious pressure. And what PK is demanding could change everything. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has always thrived on excess, betrayal, and the glittering facade of wealth. But nothing on camera has prepared fans for the raw, unfiltered financial war currently raging between Dorit Kemsley and her estranged husband, Paul P.K. Kemsley. What began as a public separation in 2024 has exploded into one of the most detailed and damaging divorce battles in Bravo history. Court filings obtained by multiple outlets reveal accusations of nearly $1 million in designer spending, while mortgage payments went unpaid, a $300,000 emergency bailout that only temporarily delayed disaster, repeated foreclosure notices, a lavish Paris birthday celebration amid the crisis, and bitter claims that each side is willing to risk the family home and the children's stability to gain the upper hand. This is not reality television edited for drama. These are sworn court documents, public records, notices of default, forensic accounting summaries, and competing declarations that paint a picture of a once glamorous marriage collapsing under the weight of debt, lifestyle inflation, and mutual distrust. The Encino mansion that once symbolized their success is now a multi-million-dollar liability teetering on the edge of non-judicial foreclosure. PK has asked a judge to force its sale. Dorit has accused him of manufacturing the emergency to evict her and their 2 children. Both sides claim the other has prioritized personal luxury over family responsibility, and every new filing digs the knife a little deeper. What follows is the most comprehensive account yet of how one of Beverly Hills' most visible couples reached this point, the specific numbers and allegations that have shocked even longtime Housewives fans, and why the next court dates could determine whether Dorit and the children keep the roof over their heads or watch the house go to auction. The rise of Dorit and PK, from London glamour to Beverly Hills royalty. To understand the current catastrophe, it is necessary to go back to the beginning. Dorit Kemsley, née Yardeni, was born in Connecticut but spent significant time in Israel and later built a life that blended fashion, entrepreneurship, and high society. Paul P.K. Kemsley, a British businessman with a background in property development, football club involvement, and entertainment, brought a flashy, deal-making energy that fit perfectly with the Real Housewives aesthetic. Behind the scenes, the financial foundation was more complicated than the on-screen image suggested. The couple purchased their Encino mansion in August 2019 for approximately $6.475 million. The 6-bedroom, multi-bathroom property, reports vary between 7 and 10 bathrooms depending on the source, became the centerpiece of their public life. It was filmed extensively, it hosted parties. It was the backdrop for both tender family moments and explosive confrontations. Public records later showed the purchase involved multiple lenders, some of them unconventional private money sources rather than traditional banks. This detail would prove critical years later when those same lenders began filing notices of default. For several seasons, the Kemsleys projected an image of success. PK appeared on the show as the supportive, sometimes flamboyant husband. Dorit cultivated a brand that mixed fashion, motherhood, and reality star authenticity. Yet even during the height of their on-screen success, cracks were visible. There were discussions of financial pressure. There were moments when Dorit's spending became a topic of conversation among the cast. And there were the now infamous on-camera incidents that fans still reference as early warning signs. One of the most memorable occurred during a Hampton shopping trip. Dorit's credit card was declined while she attempted to purchase more than $4,500 in clothing. The moment was awkward, public, and immediately dissected by viewers. It fueled years of speculation about the true state of the couple's finances. Separately, Dorit faced public payment disputes with hairstylists and glam teams. Some of those balances were later resolved, but the pattern of delayed payments contributed to a narrative that the glamorous lifestyle was running ahead of the available cash flow. By 2022, according to declarations filed years later by associates of PK, the couple was already experiencing cash flow issues. One longtime friend and financial expert claimed he advised PK as early as that year that the home was over-leveraged with multiple loans and that the most rational course might eventually be to allow a controlled default and forced sale. That advice was not followed at the time. The lifestyle continued, the show continued, the public image remained largely intact, the separation and the slow unraveling. The public separation was announced in May 2024. PK moved out of the marital home. Dorit remained in the Encino mansion with the two children. According to later court filings from Dorit's side, the couple reached an informal understanding. PK would continue to cover the mortgage and certain household expenses in lieu of formal temporary child and spousal support. Dorit has stated under penalty of perjury that she believed this arrangement was in place and that she only learned the mortgage was not being paid when foreclosure notices began arriving. PK's version of events is markedly different. He maintains that he covered the vast majority of family expenses, including mortgages, utilities, staff, nannies, private school tuition, health insurance, and more, for an extended period after moving out. He claims he paid the first mortgage through April 2025 and the second mortgage through October 2025 in some accounts. He asserts that he repeatedly urged Dorit to work with lenders and realtors toward a sale of the property to avoid foreclosure, and that she refused. He further claims he proposed that she and the children temporarily relocate to a home he had rented nearby while he continued covering expenses, an offer he says was declined. Dorit filed for divorce in April 2025, citing irreconcilable differences. She sought sole legal and physical custody of the children, along with spousal support. The filing marked the formal beginning of the legal war that has now consumed more than a year of court time, generated dozens of filings, and produced the detailed financial allegations that have dominated headlines in 2026. The numbers that shocked Hollywood. The $842,000 default and the mounting mortgage debt. Public records and court documents paint a sobering picture of the property's financial condition. The Encino mansion, purchased for roughly $6.5 million, is now saddled with more than $6 million in total mortgage-related debt, according to multiple reports. Secondary loans from private lenders became a particular problem. Two of those lenders, Tonka LLC and Private Money Solutions, had provided loans of $600,000 and $150,000 respectively. By early 2026, after interest, fees, and penalties, the outstanding balance on those obligations had grown to approximately $842,376. Documents indicated that payments on at least some of these loans had not been made since September 2025. Additional notices of default were recorded. One report referenced approximately $294,321 in missed payments and penalties on a larger mortgage between April and December 2025. Notices of default were filed and trustee sale dates were scheduled and then repeatedly postponed. In California, non-judicial foreclosure is a relatively streamlined process. Once the statutory periods run, a property can be sold at auction without the need for a lengthy court case. That possibility has hung over the Kemsley home for months. PK's legal team has argued that the risk is real and escalating. They point to the recorded notices, the repeated postponements, and the difficulty of curing large arrears once they accumulate. Dorit's legal team has argued the opposite, that PK has the financial ability to bring the loans current, that the emergency is being manufactured as a litigation tactic, and that forcing a sale under these circumstances would destabilize the children's lives for no good reason. The property itself has been valued in recent filings at approximately $8 million to $8.5 million. If those figures are accurate, there is still equity to protect. Provided the house is not lost to foreclosure, that equity is precisely what PK says he is trying to preserve through a court-ordered sale. Dorit counters that any sale should only occur with strong financial guardrails and protections against what she describes as PK's ongoing financial maneuvers. PK's central allegation, nearly $1 million on designer goods, while the house burned. The most explosive claim in PK's filings is the allegation that Dorit spent approximately $995,270 on wardrobe-related expenses over a roughly 14-month period spanning late 2024 into early 2026. The documents break the spending down by retailer with striking specificity. Roughly $69,000 at Louis Vuitton, another $69,000 at Chanel, approximately $38,000 at Hermes, $22,000 at Saint Honoré, and significant additional amounts at Net-a-Porter, Moda Operandi, FWRD, and other high-end retailers. PK's team framed this spending as evidence that Dorit prioritized personal luxury over the family's most basic financial obligation, the roof over her and the children's heads. They noted that during the same period, she allegedly made no mortgage payments and only a single related utility payment, despite having exclusive use of the residence since April 2024. PK claimed that he had covered approximately 90% of the family's expenses during the relevant time, including the costs of raising the children. In later filings, the wardrobe figure was refined and extended. One set of documents referenced more than $900,000 in clothing-related spending over a comparable period, with PK's attorneys arguing that Dorit's Bravo contract does not require her to maintain a 6- or 7-figure designer wardrobe as a condition of employment. They contended that the spending was a personal choice, rather than a professional necessity. These numbers landed like a bomb in the Housewives community. For years, fans had joked about Dorit's shopping habits. The Hamptons' credit card decline had become meme material. Payment disputes with glam teams had fueled speculation. But seeing nearly $1 million itemized in court documents, while the family home faced foreclosure, elevated the conversation from gossip to something far more serious. Dorit's counteroffensive. Accusations of weaponized foreclosure and PK's own spending. Dorit and her powerhouse attorney Samantha Spector have not taken these allegations quietly. In responsive filings, Dorit has painted a very different picture. She asserts that after PK moved out in May 2024, the parties agreed he would continue paying the mortgage and certain other expenses in place of formal temporary support. She says she only discovered the payments had stopped when foreclosure notices began arriving. She claims PK has ample cash flow, earns at least $2 million per year plus additional income streams outside the United States, and had approximately $435,000 in cash available in at least one account, more than enough, she argues, to cure the arrears he claims are so urgent. Dorit has accused PK of using the threat of foreclosure as a starve-out strategy and financial gamesmanship. She has stated that his actions risk rendering her and the children homeless. She has asked the court to deny any emergency sale, to order PK to bring the mortgage current, and to award her substantial temporary support, approximately $21,086 per month in child support, $22,330 per month in spousal support, and more than $347,000 in retroactive support. She has also turned the spending spotlight back on PK. In her filings, she has alleged that he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on his own lifestyle during the relevant period, including approximately $360,000 on travel, $55,000 on clothing, including Hermes and other luxury brands, $75,000 on meals and dining, $160,000 in Venmo and Zelle payments to third parties, and $103,000 in cash withdrawals. She has characterized his claims about her wardrobe as incomplete and, in public comments, not entirely accurate. Dorit has further argued that a significant portion of her clothing and related expenses were necessary for her work on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Appearing on a fashion-focused reality show, she contends, requires a certain level of presentation. PK's team has rejected that argument, stating that her contract contains no such requirement and that the scale of the spending was excessive, regardless of any professional considerations. The $300,000 rescue and the failed additional loan. One of the most concrete financial interventions described in the filings is PK's claim that he advanced approximately $300,000 to cure arrears and prevent foreclosure. Supporting declarations from associates indicate that part of this money came from a friend who loaned $100,000 on the condition that Dorit would sign a stipulation agreeing that the house would be sold and that the loan would be repaid from the proceeds. According to the friend's declaration, Dorit ultimately refused to sign and the arrangement collapsed. PK has also claimed that a proposed loan agreement was prepared that would have allowed him to borrow and advance roughly an additional $500,000 to further stabilize the property. He says supporting documentation was provided at Dorit's request, but that neither she nor her counsel ever executed the agreement. Without that paperwork, he asserts, he was unable to complete the funding that could have prevented further deterioration. These claims are central to PK's argument that he has acted in good faith to protect the asset, while Dorit has obstructed reasonable solutions. Dorit's side views the same events through a different lens, as evidence that PK is attempting to force a sale on his preferred terms, and that any money he advanced should be viewed in the context of his overall support obligations and his own spending. The Paris trip that became a flashpoint. In the midst of the foreclosure crisis, Dorit traveled to Europe. Court filings from PK's side describe an extended trip lasting a minimum of 3 weeks, during which she celebrated her 50th birthday in Paris with a lavish lunch that included a Hermès executive. PK's attorneys framed the travel as evidence that Dorit was prioritizing personal enjoyment and high society appearances over the urgent financial situation facing the family home. They demanded information about her location, her expected return date, the children's whereabouts and care arrangements, and related details. The optics were brutal. At a moment when notices of default were on the public record and trustee sale dates were being scheduled and postponed, images and reports of a glamorous Paris birthday celebration circulated widely. Fans who had followed the spending allegations seized on the trip as confirmation of their worst suspicions. Dorit's supporters argued that a person is entitled to celebrate a milestone birthday and that the existence of a legal dispute does not require total austerity or house arrest. PK's filings treated the trip as more than a public relations problem. They presented it as substantive evidence of misplaced priorities at a time when the children's housing stability was allegedly at risk. The optics were brutal. At a moment when notices of default were on the public record and trustee sale dates were being scheduled and postponed. Images and reports of a glamorous Paris birthday celebration circulated widely. Fans who had followed the spending allegations seized on the trip as confirmation of their worst suspicions. Dorit's supporters argued that a person is entitled to celebrate a milestone birthday and that the existence of a legal dispute does not require total austerity or house arrest. PK's filings treated the trip as more than a public relations problem. They presented it as substantive evidence of misplaced priorities at a time when the children's housing stability was allegedly at risk. The on-camera history that now looks like foreshadowing. Longtime viewers of RHOBH cannot help but see the current legal battle as the culmination of years of smaller financial red flags that played out on television. The Hamptons' credit card decline remains the most iconic. What was once an embarrassing reality TV moment now reads, in hindsight, as an early public signal that the lifestyle and the available liquidity were not always aligned. Payment disputes with glam teams and hairstylists added to the pattern. Some of those balances were eventually resolved, but the fact that they became public knowledge at all suggested recurring cash flow tension. On the show, Dorit's fashion was both a signature and a frequent topic of conversation, sometimes admiring, sometimes critical. Cast members and viewers alike commented on the volume and cost of her wardrobe. Those comments now sit alongside the court filings that quantify the spending in 6- and 7-figure terms. PK's on-camera persona as a deal-maker and larger-than-life personality has also taken on new meaning. The same confidence and risk tolerance that made him a memorable Housewives husband may have contributed to the complex financing structure on the Encino property, the multiple private lenders, the layered debt, and the vulnerability that structure created when payments lagged. The courtroom battles of 2026. The legal fight has intensified throughout 2026. In May, PK's filings detailing the nearly $1 million wardrobe spending and the foreclosure risk generated widespread media coverage. Dorit responded by accusing him of manufacturing the emergency and by seeking substantial temporary support. Texts allegedly exchanged between the parties in April 2026, later obtained by media outlets, showed Dorit expressing alarm after receiving a notice that the house was headed to auction and questioning whether PK was playing games with her and the children's lives. In July, the conflict escalated further. PK filed documents criticizing Dorit's extended European travel. Dorit filed documents accusing him of attempting to force the children into homelessness by refusing to pay the mortgage he had allegedly agreed to cover. Each side accused the other of excessive personal spending while neglecting core obligations. On August 14, 2026, A hearing was held on PK's emergency motion to list the home for sale. Dorit's attorney argued there was no true emergency. The court agreed and declined to order an immediate sale. A further hearing was set for August 26, 2026. As of the most recent available reports, the property remains in a precarious position, with the underlying debt issues unresolved and the parties still deeply divided on the proper path forward. Throughout these proceedings, both sides have submitted detailed financial declarations, forensic accounting summaries, and supporting statements from third parties. The volume of paper is substantial. The level of mutual distrust is higher still. What the filings reveal about lifestyle inflation and reality television economics. Beyond the personal drama, the Kemsley case offers a case study in the economic pressures that can accompany reality television success. Appearing on a show like RHOBH can generate significant income, brand opportunities, and social capital. It can also create powerful incentives to maintain an image of wealth that may exceed liquid resources. Designer clothing, first-class travel, large homes, staff, and private education all carry high carrying costs. When those costs are financed through layered debt rather than free cash flow, the structure becomes fragile. The private money loans on the Encino property appear to have been part of that fragility. Higher interest rates, shorter timelines, and less flexible default remedies than traditional bank financing can turn a temporary shortfall into a cascading crisis. Once notices of default are recorded, the clock starts running. Each postponement of a trustee sale buys time, but also often adds costs. The longer the arrears persist, the harder they become to cure. PK's decision to advance $300,000 to stop the immediate bleeding was a significant intervention. Whether it was a good faith effort to protect the family asset or part of a longer strategy to force a sale on favorable terms is a question the court will ultimately have to weigh. Dorit's decision to continue a high-end lifestyle, including a milestone birthday trip to Paris, while the house was in pre-foreclosure, has been judged harshly by many observers. Whether that spending was reckless, professionally necessary, or somewhere in between will also be litigated. The public reaction and the Housewives ecosystem. The Housewives fan community has reacted with a mixture of shock, schadenfreude, analysis, and genuine concern for the children. Social media has been filled with detailed breakdowns of the court documents, side-by-side comparisons of the competing narratives, and speculation about how the story will play out on future seasons of the show. Some fans have expressed sympathy for Dorit as a mother facing potential displacement. Others have argued that the spending figures make her position difficult to defend. Still others have focused on PK's own financial history and the complexity of the debt structure. Cast members and other Bravo personalities have largely remained cautious in public comments, recognizing that the legal process is ongoing and that anything said on camera or online could be used in court. The show itself has already incorporated some of the financial tension into its narrative in previous seasons. How the current, far more detailed revelations will be handled in future filming remains an open question. Possible paths. Forward, several outcomes remain possible. The parties could reach a settlement that includes a structured sale of the home, a division of any remaining equity, and a comprehensive support agreement. The court could order a sale over Dorit's objection if it finds that the risk of foreclosure is genuine and that preserving equity is in the children's long-term interest. The court could also side with Dorit, require PK to cure the arrears as part of his support obligations, and leave the housing situation intact for the time being. A foreclosure auction remains a background threat if the debt is not resolved and if the legal process does not produce a timely solution. In that scenario, the equity the parties are fighting over could be significantly reduced or eliminated, leaving both sides worse off and the children displaced under the worst possible circumstances. There is also the possibility of further forensic accounting, additional third-party declarations, and new rounds of discovery that could produce still more detailed spending and income figures. Each new filing has the potential to shift the public narrative and the legal leverage. A marriage and a mansion in ruins. The story of Dorit and PK Kemsley is, at its core, a story about the gap between image and reality. On television, they projected success, style, and a certain kind of aspirational chaos. In the court filings, they have accused each other of financial irresponsibility on a grand scale. The mansion that once represented their arrival in Beverly Hills has become a symbol of how quickly that arrival can unravel when debt, lifestyle, and trust all break down at once. PK's filings allege a nearly $1 million luxury spending spree, a refusal to cooperate in protecting the family asset, and travel that ignored the gravity of the situation. Dorit's filings allege a broken informal support agreement, a manufactured foreclosure emergency, and an attempt to use the children's housing as leverage. Both sides claim to have the children's best interests at heart. Both sides have spent significant sums on lawyers, on lifestyle, and on the temporary preservation of a house that may yet be lost. As the August 26th hearing approaches and as further proceedings unfold, the central questions remain unresolved. Who is primarily responsible for the arrears? Was the $300,000 advance a rescue or a strategic move? Was the Paris trip an understandable personal milestone or a tone-deaf indulgence? Does forcing a sale protect the children or harm them? And how much of the public image that made Dorit a Housewives star was built on financial foundations that were never as solid as they appeared? The answers will be determined in a courtroom rather than on a reunion couch. But the documents already filed have ensured that the full, unglamorous reality of the Kemsley financial crisis is now part of the permanent record, not only of their divorce, but of the real housewives of Beverly Hills itself. This is the most detailed picture yet available of a marriage, a mansion, and a lifestyle that have all come under extraordinary pressure. The numbers are large, the accusations are severe. The stakes for two children who did not choose any of this could not be higher. And the next chapters, whether written in settlement agreements or further court orders, will determine whether the Encino house survives as a family home or becomes another cautionary tale of reality television excess meeting real-world consequences. The drama that once played out in confessional interviews and group trips has moved into the far less glamorous arena of notices of default, forensic accounting, and emergency motions. For Dorit Kemsley, PK Kemsley, and everyone who has followed their story, the most shocking revelations may still be ahead, but the filings already on the public record have made one thing unmistakably clear. The glittering surface has cracked, and what lies beneath is a multi-million-dollar fight for survival.